The Heralds of Guilliman. Chapter Master Hezekiah Hanasi. Chief Librarian Raziel Hamelek. Head Sage Chaplain Samuel Elhanon. Woe to the foes of the Heralds, for they bring destruction upon their enemies with a fury only matched for their kindness to the citizens of the Imperium. Hailing from the third founding, the chapter bears the pride of the Ultramarines and the honor of the heraldry of the Sons of Guilliman in all their actions. The chapter is mostly Codex compliant, but they may not appear as such to outsiders. The chapter adhere to not only the Codex Astartes, but also to their own traditions that they refer to as the Oral Codex, in reference to their calling the Codex Astartes the Written Codex. The Oral Codex is debated heavily among the chapter as a matter of pride and covers what the chapter feels are situations Guilliman could not have foreseen, understanding that the Codex was intended to be a guideline and not a strict set of rules. This Oral Codex has allowed the chapter to better adapt to situations than most others and has led to them being known for their versatility. However, while they are renowned for their ability to adapt, the chapter harbors a dark secret that would see them ruined if it ever emerged, for they are not in fact the Sons of Guilliman they claim to be. Their origins lay in the underworld war of Calth, where a group of word-bearers surrendered to the Ultramarines and sought to atone for their initial betrayal. Though viewed with suspicion, these word-bearers were eventually permitted to fight alongside the Ultramarines and proved their loyalty. These word-bearers pledged themselves to Guilliman and declared they were the word-bearers no more and resumed the name of the Heralds, but now they declared they would be Guilliman's Heralds in atonement. The truth about the chapter is known to those of high rank in the chapter, and only select figures outside the chapter are aware, such as central figures in the Mechanicus who piece together the details themselves, such as Belisarius' Call. The chapter's records were ordered sealed by the early Inquisition, and it is likely that it was due in part to Guilliman himself, who no doubt used the introduction of the Codex to place the loyalist word-bearers and some Ultramarines who were aware into their own chapter. The chapter refers to their chaplains as sages and stands out not having a much larger than normal amount of chaplains. It is the sages that select the new chapter master when the time comes, and while the chaplaincy and librarians are separate, it is not unheard of for a librarian to hold the dual rank of sage as well. With those who hold the dual rank of chaplain and librarian referred to as a Navi, from the Telson, word for seer or prophet. There is little conflict between the libraries and chaplaincy, and the two groups work closely together to further the goals of the chapter. The sages will often hold sessions of debate and study with the Battle Brothers and librarians, and even the chapter serfs are encouraged to take part, for they may provide some insight that might have been otherwise missed. The chapter has made their home on the world of Telson, a world that does not fit classification well. The world is home to mostly brutal deserts that would mark it as a death world, but the few bodies of water on the planet also serve as the location of cities that are closer to those seen on civilized worlds. Despite the relative comfort of these cities, a good portion of the populace lives in the brutal wastes to strengthen themselves, and even those in the cities are encouraged to spend time living as such. It is from these hearty younglings that the chapter recruits not only its new brothers, but also members of the PDF, known as the Telson Defense Forces. The TDF often takes in those initiates who failed their trials but still wish to serve the Heralds, and they are given a chance to serve in a new way. The chapter did not initially worship the Emperor as a god, but over time, the Imperial cult took hold among them, and they are now fervent believers in the Emperor's divinity. Hanok, the oldest dreadnought among the chapter and formerly the second chapter master, has felt dismay at the turn to religion among the chapter, noting that this led to ruin for their predecessors. He has kept silent for the sake of not causing an internal conflict. However, after witnessing the living saint known as Celestine and other instances of what can only be called miracles, he has started to believe that even if the Emperor was not a god, he may have since become one. The chapter's adherence to their oral codex is not just done in the form of debating tactics and strategies, but also storytelling, and the Heralds have developed a strong culture for telling stories. These stories are taken not just from the deeds of the chapter, but from all Astartes and the Astra Militarum, Telson Defense Forces, Sisters of Battle, and even the Mechanicus. It is this storytelling culture that has caused them to be regarded as fine warrior poets, and is an aspect of the culture that is present in all areas of Telson. The stories are collected while the chapter is on their missions, and each brother records the tale when they return to their fortress ministry, known as the Mishkan. Telzin is home to 7 mainland animals and multiple forms of alien life. These include the Oznaya, an enormous bird-like creature that lives in the wastes, and a single one will attack large groups of humans on its own, proving to be a threat. Part of the trial for the initiates is to bring back the skins of 2 Oznayas, while another involves hunting the many-winged razor-edged Atalev, a vicious predator that often attacks the many land animals, all of which serve as livestock for the people of Telzin. The waters are not fully safe either, as the Leviathan are the enormous crotted whales that will attack ships. Still, the people will fight against these creatures as they are a hardy people and refuse to be cowed. Besides, these conflicts make for good stories, and the greatest warrior poets will have their words live on. The Heralds of Guilliman view their role as to be the light of the Astartes under the Imperium, and they will act accordingly to show the pinnacle of humanity. In addition to showing respect to the serfs, the chapter believes they must help the Imperium live up to the Emperor's values, and as such, they will protect the population while fighting the Xenus, the Mutant, and the Heretic. The chapter has low patience for many in the ecclesiarchy, however, as they feel the organization has become increasingly corrupt over the millennia. The Heralds have a close alliance with the Blood Ravens and Salamanders, the former for their pursuit of knowledge, and the latter for their respect for non-Astartes. They have a poor relationship, however, with the Red Scorpions, the reasons for which are unclear, though it may relate to a disastrous attempt at halting an Orc invasion that saw the 8th Company of the Heralds nearly wiped out to a man. The chapter has a tense relationship with the Mechanicus due to certain individuals knowing their secret, but this came to their benefit when Cole sent them the means to create Primaris Marines with their own gene seed. Due to their worship of the Emperor, they have a cordial relationship with the Black Templars, but their disdain for the ecclesiarchy has led to uncertain relations with the Adeptus Sororitas. The Sisters of Battle do not have a set opinion on the Heralds, as some view them as shining example of the Emperor's angels, while others distrust them due to their views on the ecclesiarchy, although yet others in the sororitas share said distrust. The chapter's war cry is "The Herald shall endure," and is often taken to be a boast of their prowess. In truth, however, the war cry is their way of saying they are the last true loyal remnant of the Wordbearers, at least to their knowledge, and they shall keep their original legacy alive. The chapter's most prized relic, known as the Banner of the Underworld, epitomizes this idea. It was this banner that the Wordbearer loyalists used to signal that they were giving themselves up to the Ultramarines to show that they wished to repair the massive betrayal that their traitor brothers did. The banner was first held by the captain known as Nashon, who led his brothers to turn back to the Emperor, and later became the first chapter master before falling in battle and being succeeded by Hanok. Hanok holds the title of Ancient of Tales, and all chapter masters must meet with him when ascending to the role. Hanok is presented with a scroll containing the deeds and acts the new chapter master has done and witnessed, and to prove they are worthy of the role. As he has held this role for millennia since his interment, his sarcophagus is adorned with many scrolls marking the many brothers of the chapter to have held the position. The chapter has a unique genetic flaw dating back to their times as a chapter of the Name in the Wordbearers, where they took heavy losses in battle and were forced to replenish their ranks quickly. The genetic flaw is a mental flaw known as a scaling, where the mentality of a herald's mind does a complete about-face and turns everything from morality off and puts everything that one knows at the moment into consideration, forcing them to reassess their position and thoughts. The chapter of the Name were instantly turned from the side of Lorgar to the side of the Imperium due to the scaling, causing them to reject Lorgar and view the Imperium as the lesser of two evils. The Heralds view the Imperium as a necessity and will fight for it, but the scaling makes them critical of aspects of the Imperium that fall short of their expectations, such as the ecclesiarchy. The chapter is even known to abandon their allies should they fall short of expectations or carry out actions the chapter views as unbecoming of Astartes. Even with this, the chapter is well regarded among their peers, but have developed a reputation for being single-minded as well when it comes to certain enemies. Because of the scaling, the chapter prioritizes fighting their former brethren, the Wordbearers, above all others, and will drop what they are doing to fight these traitors, even abandoning their closest allies at times. The chapter has even declared 3 crusades over the millennia to attack the Wordbearers and their cults, while leaving Telson to the safety of the TDF. This led to the events of 967 M41, where the Telson Defense Forces successfully defended the world from an assault by the World Eaters and Night Lords, with only a small group of the Heralds remaining to aid in the fight. The battle was fought by the TDF, and the Mechanicus forces had come to harvest mineral that occurred naturally on the planet. Due to the need for this mineral, and the chapter having previously found an STC for the Mechanicus, the TDF had been given the best supplies, armor and weaponry, and a force of Skitari always stayed on the world. Upon returning to Telson and learning what happened, the chapter was informed that the traitors were ruthless, but Telson was stronger and would endure. The chapter does not have set battle tactics or preferred weapons and vehicles, but rather prefers to adapt to situations as quickly as they can. It is their adherence to not just the Codex Astartes, but also Oral Codex that has allowed them to adapt to situations quickly and has earned them praise even from those who find their culture strange. The chapter themselves attribute this to their adherence to Guilliman's true ideals and not just writings that could not have predicted everything. The return of Guilliman was welcomed warmly by the chapter, who celebrated his revival. Hanok accompanied the veterans of the chapter to meet the Primarch again, and it was there he beheld Celestine and re-evaluated his position on the Emperor. The chapter pledged undying loyalty to Guilliman once more and vowed to aid him in whatever he would do, for they saw the Primarch as the answer to what troubled them. They saw Guilliman as the chance to restore the true ideals that the Imperium of Man had begun to lack.